Tonight, London's mayor gets the green light for ULEZ expansion.
The legal challenge failed, so it looks like Sadiq Khan will be able to implement ULEZ.
Oh, I'm going then.
It's after 5 Conservative-led councils lost a legal challenge to Sadiq Khan's plan at the High Court with mixed reaction.
We will continue to oppose this. We will continue to fight it.
I was worried that the judgment was going to go the other way, and that would be seen as a green light for people to basically ignore all these vulnerable people.
It is a win for the mayor for now, but tonight another council says it's also considering legal action, also ahead.
You know, it really brings me down. It's affected my mental health.
The physical and mental impact of racist abuse. An 11-year-old tells us how he was subjected to relentless bullying at school. The capital's swan population under threat from avian flu as cygnet numbers drop by 40%. And we meet the man who's built a working racing car entirely out of scrap. Good evening. Sadiq Khan's controversial plan to extend the ultra-low emission zone across London was today given the green light by the High Court. It's after 5 Conservative-led councils lost their legal challenge, claiming the plan was unlawful. A significant victory for London's mayor, who says he will now push on with expanding ULEZ next month on the 29th of August. But those who oppose the move say they haven't given up their fight yet. And for some Londoners, the extra daily cost of £12.50 is a price they say they cannot afford to pay. With the latest, here's our senior correspondent, Ronke Phillips.
Get Khan out!
Right up to the end, they were hoping the mayor would suffer a humiliating defeat. But the High Court decision went against them, ruling the expansion of the ultra-low emission zone is lawful. But critics say they may have lost the legal battle, but the war for them is far from over.
We will continue to oppose this. We will continue to fight it. You only have to look at the result in Uxbridge, where 93% of people voted against ULEZ, or people who are sceptical of ULEZ, and that tells you that we have the support of the people and we will carry on fighting until the end.
The decision means Sadiq Khan can now push ahead with his flagship policy to tackle London's toxic air. And he's determined to stick with his current timetable, even though it will put him on a collision course with his own party.
This is not about using clean air as a political football. This is about bringing in policies that will support Londoners, make the transition towards a city where our air doesn't lead to around 4,000 premature deaths a year.
The ULEZ currently covers the area between the north and south circulars, but today's judgment means it will now extend to areas across Greater London, so that from August the 29th, drivers of the most polluting vehicles will be charged £12.50 a day to use their cars.
To be honest, I think this is bigger than a political issue.
Susan Hall is the Conservative hopeful taking on Sadiq Khan to be the next Mayor of London.
The Mayor of London is not listening to what Londoners are saying in any which way, and this will damage Londoners.
And you'll keep campaigning on this one issue, will you?
Well, I will try. I think he'll bring it in. I promise everybody on May the 2nd, if I'm the next mayor, I will stop it.
Kane Lever says he and his family are being forced out of town by the ULEZ. They're moving to the countryside because they say the additional help the mayor has offered low-income and disabled Londoners to scrap their old cars simply isn't enough.
My wife's car was not ULEZ compliant. We paid £5,000 for that. The scrappage scheme only gave us £2,000 back on that, so we lost £3,000 on that. My van, they're saying I paid £19,000 for that, and they're saying it's only worth £5,000 now in the scrap scheme. Also, I phoned up the ULEZ people and I said to them, what help have you got for self-employed sole traders? And they said, sorry, you're on your own.
I'll carry on listening and responding to any concerns those Londoners who may not have a compliant vehicle have. The good news, there's still almost £70 million available in the scrappage support we've set up from City Hall.
But the legal headache for the mayor may be far from over. Kent County Council is the latest to add its voice to the opposition, saying it's considering a fresh legal challenge. With just over a month to go until the expansion takes force, the issue of clean air remains a battleground. Ronke Phillips, ITV News.
Well, we heard from Bromley Council in Ronquet's report. They're highlighting just how divisive the row over ULEZ expansion is, especially in that borough. Some angry about having to pay the extra charge for using their vehicles say it will be the final nail in the coffin for their businesses. Others, though, say the prospect of cleaner air where they live can't come soon enough. From Bromley, Helen Keenan reports.
Pistachio and rum resin, top of the range.
Something sweet, but he's sour on the subject.
Why the Mayor of London tried to get the ULEZ all around? I mean, if you pay the £2.50, it's fine, no pollution. If you don't pay the money, you got to change over. It's all wrong.
After a legal challenge to stop the ULEZ expansion was lost. We broke the news to shoppers at Bromley Market.
The legal challenge failed, so it looks like Sadiq Khan will be able to
we
implement
didn't get
ULEZ.
it? Oh, I'm going then. OK, thank you. That's upset me.
I'm actually, you know...
You're a bit 50-50?
Yeah, I'm 50-50.
I'm a science teacher, so I think it's a good thing because of the pollution, because obviously we want to protect our environment for future generations.
Cost of living is so high, food is so expensive, then to add that you need to change your car, I think it's not well thought of.
Bromley was one of the 5 London councils that argued the public consultation into the controversial ULEZ plan was flawed. And despite the legal challenge now being dismissed, it remains a divisive subject here.
For others in the town, they're breathing a sigh of relief. ULEZ is a step closer. Parissa's children both have asthma.
Do you think the health element of the argument over ULEZ is being ignored so it can be used as a political football?
When I heard about the verdict today, I literally cried because all of last night I was worried that the judgment was going to go the other way, and that would be seen as a green light for people to basically ignore all these vulnerable people who are dying, who are being hospitalised, who are scared to leave their houses because of air pollution, who are scared to walk their kids to school because of air pollution.
This animal charity uses a specially kitted out van to move their rescues. It's just cost them almost £40,000 to replace it with a compliant vehicle.
Could have paid for a lot of vet fees, food for the animals. Our electricity bill has tripled this year, so it's taken away money that we could have used elsewhere. It's tragic really, because having to raise additional money for a new van has meant that we haven't been able to put out appeals for vet fees and some of the other normal day-to-day costs that we usually encounter, so it's basically taken money away from caring for the animals.
The Mayor may have won today, but the ULEZ battleground remains in Bromley. Helen Keenan, ITV News.
Well, I'm joined now by one of our regular political analysts, Professor Tony Travers from the London School of Economics. Thank you for coming in to talk to me about this. The green light essentially for Sadiq Khan on this long-running issue. He says he's going to go ahead with his plan next month. It's still, though, we saw in those reports, incredibly divisive. And we've got those mayoral elections coming up next year. We heard Susan Hall, who's a Tory candidate, saying she's definitely going to canvass on the issue. So should Sadiq Khan be worried about this?
Well, there's no question that it is an emotive issue on both sides. People are they feel strongly about their cars, but they feel strongly about pollution, and some people feel about both. Susan Hall, the Conservative candidate, has made it absolutely clear that she's going to turn the mayoral election next year into a referendum, saying she'll scrap this expansion if she wins. Now, then the question is it that important to people when they come to vote in a mayoral election, particularly in outer London, which is much bigger than inner London, more voters there, to change people's minds when all the other things are being thought about at the same time? But so I think it is going to run as a political issue. And today's decision, of course, may not be the last legal challenge. We've heard that Kent might try a different way of challenging this. So it's going to run as a political issue.
And it would have to be a different way, of course, wouldn't it? More broadly, though, looking at the Labour Party and, of course, the general election that we are expecting at some point, we saw when Labour didn't capitalise on that by-election in Uxbridge and South Ruislip, but the Labour leader, Keir Starmer, was saying, you know what, you need to reflect on this ULEZ expansion and think about the impact on
Yeah.
people. How do you think the issue could affect London constituencies and potential, those kind of marginal seats that Labour would want to gain?
Well, there are a number of marginal seats on the edge of London's, like Chipping Barnet, Teresa Villiers' constituency, and actually just the other side of the boundary, where people are also slightly exercised, so in constituency like Watford, where I think the Conservatives will be hoping that they'll want this to remain really visible and salient. Labour, on the other hand, the Mayor and the Labour leadership nationally will be hoping that when it's all happened, when it's actually implemented on the 29th of August, that by next year people will have forgotten about it. They'll have moved on and that they've discovered it's less bad. That's what Labour's hoping, less bad than they fear. That it's the fear of the unknown at the moment.
Yeah.
So lots of big politics, both mayoral and nationally, here running all the way through to next year.
Professor Tony Travers, we'll see how it all plays out. Thank you very much. Well, if you're wondering how ULEZ will affect you, we've answered some of the most commonly asked questions on our website, itv.com/London. On to other news now, and an inquest has heard that failings from prison and hospital staff led to the death of a baby who was born inside a jail cell. Aisha Clearly was found dead in HMP Bronzefield in Surrey in 2019, despite her mother Rihanna's calls for help. Today, a coroner said the prison didn't have proper plans in place to care for the baby or the mother. A Metropolitan Police officer has been jailed for 2 years for sexually assaulting a woman on his stag do. The assault was carried out by Sergeant Lawrence Knight in the Sea in Brighton in 2021. The Met Police will run a misconduct hearing next month. And a woman arrested after a car crashed into a school tea party in Wimbledon, killing 2 children, has been rebailed. The 46-year-old was arrested on suspicion of causing death by dangerous driving after the crash at the study prep school. All surviving victims have now also left hospital. Right, next tonight, a tough topic that's been talked about with great bravery by an 11-year-old boy. Abel says he suffered horrific racism from his time at St Mary's Catholic Primary School in East London. His mother says the cruelty he faced from his fellow students caused him so much stress he became ill. The school is investigating, and we must warn you, you might find Abel's account of the way he was racially targeted difficult to hear. Kafo Pata now with his story.
They give me racial abuse, calling me you monkey, and
They say school is a place to laugh, learn and play, but for 11-year-old Abel it's brought nothing but tears.
your black life don't matter, you fat gorilla. And like, you know, it really brings me down. It's affected my mental health.
You're okay, Abel. You're okay. Go on. Give me 5. Give me 5. Yep, there we go. You're good.
Recounting his experience of the racism he's experienced from classmates isn't easy, but somehow, deep down, he finds the strength to do so. He goes on to say that there have been times where he's been physically attacked, and in sticking up for himself, he fights back.
So then I kicked him back because I'm obviously going to do that. And then he just said, "What the hell are you doing to my friend?" And then he punches me in the face.
These traumatic instances have left lasting scars on Abel, even causing him to develop perioral dermatitis, a condition which can be caused by stress. For Abel's mother, the 5 years of constant racism has been heartbreaking, made even harder by her being a white mother caring for a mixed-race child.
He was coming home and in the beginning in year 1 and saying to me, I really wish I had white skin, I don't want this skin colour. I approached the school and I said to them, you know, kids could just maybe be curious. They, you know, handled it and said that it would be dealt with, and then they give this talk in the classroom how people are different.
I'm delighted and honoured to welcome you to our virtual tour of our school.
His school, St Mary's, advertises itself as having a zero-tolerance approach to bullying. But for Abel, that hasn't been his experience.
And what would you say to the teachers at your school? You told them what was happening, and what was their response?
Yeah, I told the teachers about this. I've told my mum. The teachers don't do anything about it. Apparently, it's against their policies to expel them. A week ago, we done our assembly, and they were singing the song the time we were singing the song "The Time of Our Lives," and you know what? I didn't sing it because it hasn't been the time of my life with all them names being called to me and stuff like that.
The school told us that they couldn't comment on this case just yet, but they did say in a statement that the matter remains part of an ongoing complaint that is being investigated in accordance with the school's complaint policy. They added that the school has very clear policies with regards to behaviour and condemns all forms of discrimination. Abel is now off to secondary school, a place where he hopes things will be different. Kath Opater, ITV News.
Well, Kath joins me now. And Kath, this is one example, isn't it? But this isn't a problem just in this one school, is it?
No, I mean, on this programme, our colleague Daniel Henry, he's reported on 3 schools where things like this have happened. But it's not just 3 schools, it's not just Abel's school. In London alone, there have been suspensions of 1,300 students over racial abuse. That's 1,300. In England, it's nearly 8,000. Now, we hear a lot of these schools say that they have a zero-tolerance approach to racism. The problem is, victims say that they don't see this in action. And even in Abel's school, he said that his school never even expelled the people who were bullying him. Now, this is suspensions. When it comes to permanent exclusions, that number drops right down to 1.
Oh, all right. Kath, thank you. Still to come, how the weather is looking for the weekend. Plus, we meet the man who's built a full working racing car out of waste. Before that, avian or bird flu is having a significant impact on the capital's swan population. New data from the latest swan upping survey has shown a 40% decline in the number of cygnets or young swans on the Thames, and that, says experts, is a huge cause for concern, as Anila Dami reports.
They're a majestic sighting, but could fast become a rare sight. While swans are under royal protection, there's no saving them from avian flu.
I think it is probably the worst pandemic on record that we've ever had in this country regarding avian flu.
This year seen a 40% drop in cygnets, with just 94 counted over 5 days compared to 155 last year. The drop's largely attributed to avian flu or bird flu, an infectious disease that spreads among birds through infected saliva and droppings, causing a range of symptoms.
Swollen head, runny beak, and the other indication is that there would be probably other birds dead around.
Here at the Swan Sanctuary in Shepperton, there are lots of swans and cygnets, but because they stay in flocks, it's easier for the flu to spread. As seen on the Thames during the annual count known as swan upping, it takes place on a 79-mile stretch between Sunbury Lock in Middlesex and Abingdon Bridge in Oxfordshire over 5 days. The uppers shout "all up" when they spot a swan before examining and marking them.
On the Thames, where they're counting the young birds, and that has shown a really big decline, and it's basically because there are just less adults have been there to breed. But I think what the really important thing about that sort of swan counting shows is how important it is to keep monitoring populations and about what the long-term impacts of these diseases are. It's not just that a few birds die and then they just bounce back. You know, this could have a really long-term impact on species.
While there's no cure, Steve says hygiene is key to prevention.
We keep our birds well fed, their water is all oxygenated, it's just good animal husbandry.
And while some councils are advising people don't feed the swans, Steve says if the swans are expecting food and are infected, they'll travel out and therefore spread the virus. The government says they're monitoring the situation and working with partners on any action that may need to be taken. Despite the question over how to prevent the virus, everyone wants to protect the swans. Anila Dami, ITV News.
On to sport now, and England's women moved one step closer to the World Cup knockout stages with a 1-0 victory over Denmark. Chelsea's Lauren James got the goal with this brilliant long-range strike. Her brother Reece also plays for Chelsea and England, making the pair the first brother and sister to represent the national team. And to another London team now, and Arsenal have unveiled a statue of their former manager Arsene Wenger at the Emirates Stadium. The Frenchman led the Gunners for 22 years, winning 3 league titles and 7 FA Cups. London artist Favour Jonathan has been chosen as one of 100 people to have their pieces displayed and celebrated by Disney. Her work, a remake of The Princess and the Frog, will be auctioned off to raise money for the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
I've created a sculpture of Dr. Facilier, as you can see behind me. He is from The Princess and the Frog, and his character, the craftsmanship that has gone towards, creating this character was so magical and just so important. And I just wanted to give homage to the craftsmanship.
Now, on a day where clean air has been a focus of discussion, one designer has made it his mission to clean up Formula One. Liam Hopkins has created the first ever full-size Formula E racing car made entirely out of recycled e-waste ahead of the championship, which takes place in the capital this weekend. Antoine Allen went to meet him.
It drives like a race car, but this Recover e-car is leading the pursuit towards sustainability. The phones, laptops and circuit boards that the public too often throw into bins has been turned into a fully functioning car by Envision Racing through a partnership with artist Liam Hopkins.
Instead of keep mining the world for more copper, more palladium, more gold, it's actually within these things you've got all these beautiful items that's come from the earth that we don't have to keep taking away from it.
Liam says it took 6 months to design and create the Recover e-car. It felt like it took that long for me simply to get inside it.
This car may never win a Formula E race, but it is able to drive. It's a successful example of how you can turn those old phones, tablets or broken laptops into something that's reusable, with a little bit of imagination or a desire simply not to add to the world's waste.
Envision Racing competes in Formula E. Their Recover e-car won't feature in the E-Prix being held at the Excel Centre this weekend, but they hope their concept car will inspire fans to think about how they can recycle their electric products.
What should people be recycling that they're not right now?
A massive problem is vapes, because they're designed in a way that you don't realise that there is this precious material inside it.
Envision Racing are a leading team in the Formula E circuit. They say the sport's eco-friendly goal will benefit society beyond the racetrack.
The goal for us in the industry is to use this amazing technology we're developing here, not just to make supercars that do North 260 in 2 seconds, but also because we can use that efficient technology to make cars that can still achieve a really good range with smaller batteries and therefore are lighter, more affordable, and so on.
Over 100 phones and many other electric products were upcycled to create this car. Most people can't build an e-vehicle, but they can recycle, playing their part one broken phone or battery at a time. Antoine Allen, ITV News.
Now it's been threatening to rain, hasn't it? Will it hold off for the weekend? Here's Chris with the weather.
Whatever the weather, it always feels like home. Valent Heat Pumps and Boilers sponsor ITV London Weekend Weather.
Hello there. Very good evening to you across the capital today. Yes, after a few bright spells first thing this morning, there's been the odd isolated shower through today, but as we look towards the weekend, obviously just around the corner, it's still going to remain fairly unsettled with some sunny spells at times, the odd scattering of showers. Most of the showers, though, will be fairly light, and the breeze staying fairly light as well, this time from a southwesterly direction. It's all thanks to an area of low pressure which is sat in the driving seat through much of the weekend. That gives us this westerly to southwesterly flow, but dry for most on Saturday, but then keeping an eye on this next system that arrives through Sunday afternoon, which will bring something a bit wetter. So continuing that unsettled spell that we've seen through much of July so far this year. And as we go through the rest of this evening and overnight, there'll be some clear skies around, something a little wetter to start first thing on Saturday morning. So a bit soggy out there, but for most of us, temperatures around 15 to 16 degrees and still that breeze starting to pick up from the south and the west. As for Saturday, well, most of that heavy rain through the first part of the morning should clear, and then into the afternoon, yes, there'll still be some sunny spells, showers fewer and further between than what we've seen of late, and top temperatures around 21 to 24 degrees Celsius, with the winds a little gusty at times, but still feeling quite pleasant in any sunshine, although we will have lost that humid feel. As we go through Saturday night and into Sunday, the low pressure is still anchored towards the far north of Scotland. That continues this westerly flow, but most of it's dry to start on Sunday. But you'll notice the cloud gathering again across the likes of Wales and the West Country, and that rain is likely to arrive as we go through Sunday afternoon into Sunday evening. So for most of the weekend, staying mixed, but still with some showers at times. Have a lovely weekend. Bye-bye.
Valent Heat Pumps and Boilers sponsor ITV London Weekend Weather.
And finally, Scouts and their leaders from across London and the home counties are heading off this weekend to the quadrennial World Scout Jamboree in South Korea. The Jamboree is described as the biggest party of its kind, with tens of thousands of Scouts from around the world meeting up to learn new life skills and celebrate their work. The event has been happening since 1920. Well, Lauren Hall went along to meet some of those attending.
This is the start of an adventure for hundreds of Scouts from London and the home counties.
Where are we going? South Korea!
This week, Scouts from all over the UK have been passing through Heathrow Airport on their way to the World Scout Jamboree.
Quite nervous because I've never been on a plane before.
You've never been on a plane before? Wow!
It doesn't feel real at all. Like, I'm just kind of like, oh my gosh.
A little bit nervous, got a long flight ahead, but yeah, doing fun.
What are you most looking forward to when you get there?
Culture. Yeah, I want to meet new people as well. Pretty excited, it's going to be fun. So, you know, I've been waiting like 2 years for this.
It's like the day before Christmas nerves, like the excitement.
It is. I couldn't sleep last night, I was so excited.
No doubt there's also been some sleepless nights for the leaders and all the other volunteers who'll be looking after them for the next 3 weeks.
It's that buzz of anticipation and excitement. My buzz will come when I've got the other side of check-in and I know they're okay and we're through security, and then I can relax and we'll go to Jamboree and it'll be awesome, absolutely awesome.
They've made sure of that, having prepared for this for several years.
There are 4,500 Scouts making the journey from the UK to South Korea. In fact, there are so many there aren't enough direct flights. So they'll all be heading out to various different places before they come together next week in Korea for the start of the World Scout Jamboree.
The event's held every 4 years, hosted by different countries. And these are the sorts of things they get up to.
So there are nearly 50,000 young people and the adults that are needed to support them coming together from, right the way across the world. In fact, more countries than are represented even at an Olympics. It's fantastic.
They've never experienced anything like it. No wonder there's so much excitement. Lauren Hall, ITV News.
Oh, they're going to have a good time. That is it from us. The ITV Evening News at 6:30 is up next. But from me and all the London team, bye-bye. Have a great weekend.